Hello, everyone. Today I have an interview with Mark Johnson, photographer and Photoshop artist. Hello, Mark.
Hi, everybody.
Good to see you. So, Mark, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sounds beautiful. First of all, thank you, Andrew, for having me on the show today. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you. And yeah, as far as about myself, I've been creating images and teaching for almost 20 years, and a desire to keep evolving and sharing what I learn has been the key to my ongoing passion. For the past 10 years, I've been hosting MSJ Photography, which is a website dedicated to sharing fun and creative Photoshop and Lightroom tutorials in an encouraging environment. My goal with the site and the books I've written is to encourage others to discover their own creative voice. I truly believe that with enough passion and persistence, anyone can learn to create images that feed their creative soul and delight viewers.
Nice, nice, great. So what current projects are you working on, or what creative projects are you currently working on?
Well, for the past 3 or 4 years, I've just been super passionate about photo compositing, more than anything. And I find that it's constantly challenging me. So it's giving me an opportunity to really grow as an artist and learn new things. And it's also giving me an opportunity to continue sharing more and more new techniques with my audience, which is pretty exciting as well.
Nice.
And, I did bring along some images to share with that. Is now the time? Okay.
Now it's perfect. Perfect.
Great. So let me go ahead and
share your screen.
Share my screen here, and then I will show you some pictures. Okay, are you seeing some of my pictures at this point in time?
Yes.
Great. All right, so let me just pop these into a slideshow here.
Great.
And I'll go through these. Now, I'm not going to take the time to go into detail with each and every one of them, but these really are fun for me to create. I love the idea of creating something that's whimsical, something that has a beautiful fantasy aspect to it. And so an image like this, where I have the dimensional things popping out of the book, it's a perfect alignment with kind of how I see the world and me as a creative person.
Nice.
Here's another one that's a lot of fun. This one, I actually wrote an article for Photoshop User magazine, and this was on the cover of the magazine. This one came to me during a period when I was trying to think about replacements. In other words, replacing one object or one element with another. And so in this example, I thought, what can you replace a bat with that implies power and strength? And that was when I came up with the idea of having it be a tornado that actually, the bat actually transforms into.
Nice.
And one thing I'll mention as I go through these composites is that when I first started compositing, I really wanted to have complete control over the creative process. I wanted to come up with the concept, find the model, find the costumes, get the makeup done, light the subject, shoot the background, photograph the subject, do the composite. I wanted to do it all, and I still have that desire, but I just realized that in the context of creating and sharing what I create, teaching, I don't always have time to do all of that myself. So about 3 years ago, I gave myself permission to begin using stock images. So essentially, it's like I'm standing on the shoulders of some other great photographers. And as soon as I started doing that, I started coming up with more and more composites. In fact, I've gone through a period over the past couple of years where I've been really prolific in the creation of composites because I have a lot of ideas, a lot of stories to tell. And because I'm allowing myself to use stock photos, I am actually able to find all the assets that I need in order to create things that are germinating, bouncing around up here in my head.
Nice.
This composite right here, this is kind of fun. This is 2 or 3 stock images. I think it's 2, but it's also got the kind of flowing ribbon element that you see there. And that flowing ribbon element is created using a program called Flame Painter by Escape Motions. And Escape Motions has Flame Painter, and they have a new one now called Rebel, which is a painter program for painting with watercolor and things like that. Now, I'm not a painter, but I dream of being one. And so these programs make basic painting accessible to me. And when I can incorporate the painting elements or the painterly elements into my composites, that's exciting.
Yeah, I love that image. It's so iconic, you know.
Yeah, this is actually one of my daughter. This was a quick composite. I one afternoon I kind of came up with this idea where I wanted her to be able to peer through one scene into another scene. So this is kind of peering through winter into spring or summer through the curtain. And so I literally had her just dress up in the outfit that you see right there. I didn't use any special lighting. Whenever possible, I do try to light my subjects in a studio because you can get better results when you do that. But in this example, I just had window light, and I photographed her opening the curtain in her bedroom. And obviously the curtain didn't have a snow scene on it. I had to bring that in through compositing. And obviously she wasn't peering through to another season. But that's, again, another stock image, another element that I was able to drop in through the beauty of masking and adjustment layers and all the wonderful resources that you have in Photoshop. On my website, the MSJ Photography website, I have a lot of tutorials for those who are interested in compositing, a lot of tutorials about specific composites that I've created, and this is one of them. I show how to use blend modes in order to create a look like what you see here.
Great.
I also have a tutorial on my site on this one. This is kind of creating a surreal landscape. I actually have here 2 different mountain ranges. One is Patagonia, and the other one, I don't even remember what it is, but it's a completely different part of the world. And so those 2 mountain ranges, I brought them together with the tree silhouettes that you see in the upper right and left corner there. And then I was able to create the reflection itself using just the tools in Photoshop. And then I added some textures and the moon that you see right there to finish out the composite. This one got inspired for me by Julianne Cost of Adobe. She does a lot of work like this. And so I set out that particular day to see if I could create something along the lines of what she does. And by the way, she's an awesome teacher.
Yeah, right. I like the texture in that too. It's quite nice.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, and so here, this is a case where I decided to combine a photo with a painting. It is not my painting. The background that you see there is not my painting. I embellished it a little bit by adding things in like the light in the windows. Again, I have a tutorial on how I did this. Actually, it's a 2-part tutorial on my website. But you know, I love the idea of kind of mixing styles or mixing media to come up with your composites, because really I think as creative people there are no limits to where we can go with our creativity. And why set those limits? Just if possible, let yourself flow.
Well, that would make a great like movie poster or DVD cover.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny because I've done some book covers over the years, although I would love to do a lot more. And I've never done a movie poster, but honestly, I study movie posters and I study books. Those are a big part of my inspiration for my composites. Nice. And so I create a lot of composites that I think look and feel like they should be movie posters or book covers. And who knows, maybe someday they will be. Nice. Here's another one where I did a tutorial on my site. Actually, I did one on this to show how to create the translucent bubble effect. And here I talk about how to blend a painting with a subject. So in this case, I didn't actually do any painting. I found a stock image of a painting that I loved, and I blended that painting into the subject here. And then I actually used that exact same image behind the subject, but did some things with desaturating and so on and so forth to create that dimensional look that you see.
Yeah, nice. That's fun.
Again, we're just plain silliness here. Yeah, I mean, the idea of skiers and snowboarders coming down off of an ice cream cone. What more can be said?
Now I want ice cream now.
This one is inspired for me, I guess you could say, by David Marks, who teaches Lightroom on my website. He's a fantastic guy, and I know he's done interviews with you before, Andrew, and
Yeah,
he's an avid skier and photographer of people who are doing snow sports.
Nice.
This one got inspired by Matt Pliskowski, formerly of Kelby One, and now I think he's with On One. And yeah, he actually did a composite for, I believe, his compositing book with using this specific graffiti scene. And I found it, on a stock site. I was like, I want to try some of the techniques that he taught in there. So that light beam effect that you see out there, coming in from that light source in the upper right corner, that's something I learned from him, and I also teach that on my site as well.
Nice.
You can see that I in my own kind of special way, I think graffiti can be very beautiful. And in this case, I thought, well, I'm going to have a dancer who's actually emerging from the wall of graffiti. And I tried it with her in color and the background in color at first, but it just, I found that it worked best to drain the color from the background and leave her in color to make her pop out a little bit more.
Yeah, it's good contrast.
This, I saw a composite, I call it lightning catchers or lightning collectors. I saw a composite like this years ago. I think it was in like the Photoshop Wow book or something, but it was so long ago I don't remember where I saw it, but I was so fired up by it. And for years and years I thought to myself, boy, I wish I had the skills to create a composite with lightning in jars and things like that. And when I finally developed more and more skills through just the passion that I have for compositing, I sat down and one day, photographed the subjects for this scene and learned how to create lightning and went through the whole process of creating this. And so I have my own version of the lightning collectors here. And this, I imagine, as like a children's book type thing. I mean, I have so many ideas for children's books, and with a young daughter in the house, I'm constantly coming up with ideas. And I hope someday I can maybe transform some of these ideas into an actual children's book.
Nice.
And this scene right here, I have a tutorial on my site where I talk about kind of balancing the light using blend modes. So you can see how she has kind of the color of the scene infused into her skin and her hair. That's all done using some really quick and sweet blend mode techniques in Photoshop.
Great.
Corey Barker of Kelby One fired me up on this one. He's the one who taught me through his Down and Dirty books how to blend translucent elements like water splashes with subjects. And so I wanted to give that a try. And I photographed this guy bouncing up and down on a trampoline. He's a parkour expert, and blended him in with the water drops. This is actually a composite of my daughter right here. In this one, I wanted to photograph her kind of in this book tent. So I photographed the books, obviously independent of her, and then I brought the two together along with some stock elements there, the grass in the foreground. In this one, I really liked creating the depth with the grasses in the foreground and that firefly that's in the kind of front left there. Having certain things out of focus like this, I think helps lend some depth to the scene. This one, I got a tutorial called wrapping, I think something about wrapping realistic light around your subject. So again, that's one of the ways that you can balance your subject with the background, is by wrapping the light around the subject, almost as if they're really standing in that scene instead of standing in front of a roll of white paper, which is a lot less exciting. Here I was playing around with the flame filter that's relatively new in Photoshop. Again, I've got a tutorial on this one on my site on how to create a flame effect like that. Pretty cool that you can now do that inside Photoshop.
Right.
I love classical paintings, and so this one for me, I mean, the idea of bringing this subject together with this background was perfect. I love the harmony of the colors between her hair and the grasses, and I love the sort of shape of her hair in relationship to the little pools of water that you see back there. Similar shapes, similar colors. Those harmonies help tie a scene together. Here we go with one that I did for my daughter. She, of course, being a young lady, she's really into fairies. And so I decided I was going to try to create a fairy, and that required combining a pair of, I think it was butterfly or moth wings with a human subject.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah, this is, again, what sells this composite is wrapping that light. So you have that setting sun in the background and the warm light wrapping in front of the model. Really sells it. And then I added those birds that actually used a brush, a custom brush, that's a free custom brush to literally just drop some birds in there.
Yeah, a lot of these would be great for movie posters, book covers. I'd see a lot of these for, like, you know, even like special sites. It reminds me of something I'd see on like Netflix for a new series or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I've never taken the time to pursue any of those markets. But I mean, if anybody who's watching this knows somebody who wants a book cover, movie poster, something like that, hey,
Come on, Netflix, do you hear that?
I'm right here. So when I photograph my subjects, this is a model I photographed. I photograph them usually using a 3-light setup. Two rim lights that are very focused lights. They have egg crate grids in them, and those focus lights can illuminate the edges. I learned this lighting technique from Joel Grimes. I can light up the edges of the model, making it easier to extract the model and making it easier to drop the model into a background of choice. And then I also use a front fill light, just a gentle fill light. I try to use very soft lighting during the process of capturing the subject, and then I add in the edginess in post. It's much easier to add edginess after the fact than trying to do it with your lights. I photograph my models in front of a white seamless backdrop, and I try to get good contrast between their hair. She doesn't have any here, but their hair and the background. So for instance, if it's a blonde model, I'll move the model farther away from the white backdrop, and that will make the white backdrop turn to more of a dark gray. So there's contrast between the hair and the gray. And then if it's dark hair, I'll move the model closer to the backdrop, and the lights will therefore be closer, and they'll be lighting up the backdrop more. And so I'll have a light gray that's in nice contrast to the dark hair.
And do you also like to use Lightroom, or do you primarily use Photoshop for every kind of step of the way?
You know, I think Lightroom is fantastic software, but I've never really needed it in my personal workflow. So yeah, I'm a camera, lights, and Photoshop all the way right now. Although at the end of this interview, I'm going to tell you something else I'm just now delving into and I'm super excited about.
Excellent.
Sometimes I'll see stock elements on sites such as Shutterstock, and I get so excited by what they look like that I have to use them in a composite. So I created this composite of this leaping dancer and the exploding colorful powder. Just the energy of it was exciting to me. And I actually wrote a dynamic range article for Photoshop User Magazine where I show exactly how to create this, this look here.
Excellent.
Some of these I'm just going to go past. There's plenty to talk about, but limited time right now. This again is a flame painter ribbon effect right here. A lot of possibilities with that inexpensive piece of software from Escape Motions. This is one of my first composites. Here I actually photographed that backdrop at one of the athletic buildings over on the University of Colorado campus, and just thought it had a beautiful quality to it, and I used HDR to bring out some of the texture and the detail in it, and then dropped in this wonderful soft Pure Bar model here that you see.
Right.
I also enjoy when I'm doing compositing being able to work with atmospheric effects like haze and fog and mist. Beautiful things to work with. I have tutorials on my site talking about how to work with those, and I really love the idea with composites of totally being able to control the light. That's one of the most exciting things, because with just a camera and a click of the shutter, you just sometimes can't control the light the way you want to. And with photo compositing, you get to be in charge. You get to control the light. And I love backlight. very difficult to photograph backlight when you're not doing compositing, unless you have a light out in the field or on location with you where you can light up your model. But with photo composites, you have such beautiful control.
Nice.
Really into old typewriters, and wanted this to have just a vintage feel, almost something that would, remind you of an author hard at work.
Great.
Call this one Mother Autumn, and again, that being able to create translucency in her that flowing fabric there. That's so exciting to me. Love the movie, or love the book Orchid Thief, and they did a movie called Adaptation. This is the movie poster for it, or actually this isn't, but this is my attempt at recreating the movie poster. Thought it was the coolest concept ever. Also excited about these super edgy, high contrast scenes, and in this case, I photographed this model. We were literally flicking mud on him, and when you got something like mud on a mountain biker like this, and he's clamping down there on his, his Camelback hydration hose, and so you got this mud that's splattered on the subject. Then I photographed the boulder. We have a bike park. I photographed that as the backdrop, and brought it together with a lot of edginess. I have several tutorials on my site talking about working with HDR and creating edginess through Photoshop techniques and Nik Color Effects Pro techniques. Again, here, this is a photo composite. I love the idea of somebody sort of peering through a fence. And so I made those wood slats using wood textures and then dropped the subject behind them. So your imagination can really run wild with photo compositing. Speaking of imagination, Sherlock Holmes, big for me. Your imagination can just go completely wild, and then you just have to develop the skills to be able to convey your vision.
Yeah, so they got to hire you for all these TV shows and movies that come out. I want to see your work in those posters and DVD covers and Netflix splash pages.
Yeah, thanks, man. That'd be fun. Here you can see that light effect, that glint of light, that lens flare that's coming through there. I use Knoll Light Factory for Photoshop to create lens flare effects like that. There's also one called Lens Flare Studio. It's not as pro of a product, but it has amazing lens effects and a lot of versatility. So those are two that I use for creating flare type effects. Here it was all about metal. The whole idea was create something that's metallic. And in this case, I wanted to show, and I have a tutorial about this on my site as well, I wanted to show how to blend two scenes together in a very simple fashion. This is basically just a big soft black brush on a mask. Blend these two together, yeah. And I liked that whole idea of the aerial perspective, looking down on the subject, and how the folds of the comforter kind of become the ridges in the mountains. And
right.
This is the same replacement idea as that tornado and baseball bat. Have a surfer, but instead of him holding a surfboard, I've got him holding a rocket ship. Again, it's implying that he's a great surfer. He's got a lot of control, a lot of power out there. This looks like this is like a Joel Grimes. I'm really inspired by his photo composites, and that's attempt to kind of recreate the look of what he does. I've got light beams coming in from the sides. And again, if you want to learn any of these things, including this one where I've got fire effects and spark effects, I show how to do that on my website. That background is generated in Filter Forge, which is a great program for generating textures. It's great for applying filter effects, like natural media filter effects to your photos, but it also generates textures like the background that you see right there and the background you see here, which is like a smoke effect. And I have a tutorial where I show how to create the rain, because we have, obviously have rain pelting this guy right here. So
now speaking of your site and stuff, did you want to go into what future projects you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely.
For time's sake.
Absolutely, yeah. I get a little rambling when I start talking about these things.
Well, it's great work. It's great work.
Yeah. So in terms of future projects, you know, as I mentioned, I love telling stories with my images, but I find that there are limitations to what can be accomplished with just a camera and Photoshop, or camera and Photoshop and Lightroom. For instance, let's say if you want to tell a story about a dragon, well, it's pretty hard to photograph a dragon. So, but for illustrators, painters, and 3D artists, creating a dragon is possible. And therefore, to become a better storyteller, I'm very seriously considering learning 3D software right now. Uli Steiger is a great example of a digital artist who tells magnificent stories using a camera, Photoshop, and he uses Cinema 4D. And that Cinema 4D element for him helps him include objects in his scenes that you simply couldn't include if you were just working with your camera in Photoshop. But until I learned 3D software, I've discovered a unique stock site called Pixel Squid. I actually loaded that page up before we came here. This is a remarkable site, and I believe that this site may possibly reshape the future of stock photography. Pixel Squid images are photorealistically generated from 3D models, and each one can be purchased from the perfect angle with incredible lighting. I'm just going to, if I have time, Andrew, let me just show you.
So they give you the Photoshop elements, like all the layers. That's very interesting.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's spectacular. So actually, you know, here's what I'll do. Let me go here. This way I can actually take just a moment. And I can grab a free image and I can show you. So I've got a tutorial on my site that shows how to use this very image right here. But see how it has this spinner up here? Now watch this. I can click and I can drag. Are you kidding me? Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, I love stuff like that.
I can drag this 3D object around, choose the angle I want.
Wow, and then down.
I can download. This is actually a free one, so anybody can go play with it. Just watch my tutorial or not, you know, and then go download this. Get it as a PSD. Boy. And
it'll download it at that angle?
It'll download it at that angle, and it will come down with layers that are specific to the lighting. So you can go in and control the lighting, not so much the angle of lighting, which is the downside, but the quality, the color, and the quality of the lighting. It also comes with selection making layers, so you can easily select whatever elements you want in the scene with just the click of the magic wand. And it comes with a shadow layer and a depth mask. So the depth mask, I've got a tutorial coming out on that, I think next week.
That's very different from just getting a stock image.
Oh, it's way different. Yeah, and it's $10. You know, it's $10 for these images. So it is $10 per angle. Keep that in mind. You want to buy the angle that you actually need.
Right.
But so anyway, that's one thing I'm excited about. Do I have time to talk about one other thing?
Yeah, about 5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So another thing that I'm super fired up about right now is on my site here, I have a button that says Create Prints. Well, this takes you over to a resource. This is a brand new online resource for creating photo panels and then having somebody else actually make the panel for you and then ship it to you ready to hang. So I'm just going to hit Start Designing here. This, by the way, is the first time ever that my images have been for sale. If you like my work, you can actually buy my images here and design how they're going to hang on your wall. But you can also upload your own image, so you don't have to buy mine. You can come here and just upload your own image. And let me go find I'll just grab first thing that pops up here. So I'm going to upload this image, and you're going to see in just a second it is it's in a 3D space here. That's obviously a small size. Let me go bigger with this. And I'm going to zoom it up like this so you can see it on the wall. And now I'm going to come down here and choose which style I want. So I'll go with one of the expensive ones because it's more fun to look at, but they have much less expensive ones. So I click on Select, and you'll see.
So you'll see like the type of frame.
I can drag this around and see exactly what that looks like. Yeah, and then I can come down here to Edit Style, and I can customize it. So for instance, if I don't want that marble look there, then I can come down to Backboard Edge and click matte black here, and I can get that. Or I can go to a 3-inch matte. Zoom that up just a wee bit. Whoops. I got a little crazy there. Go to the 3-inch. And, you know, say I want, I'm not really going to have a green mat, but say I want a green mat or a black mat or whatever you want.
Sure, sure.
And you can custom pick it as well. But so it's pretty exciting. Then you can pop over here to room and you can say, well, but my room doesn't have a yellow wall. What's that going to look like in my room? Well, you can pick the wall color. Let's say your wall color is a light blue, turquoise. And you can even pick the flooring type. You know, you come down here and pick whatever flooring you have. And one last thing I'll show you is you can go here to room. Oops, actually not design the 3 room, but see it on your wall. And you can see it in sample spaces.
Oh, that's fun.
Or you can upload your own room right here. You actually take a picture of your own space, upload it, and hang it on your wall. And the product, the end product here, I'm good friends with the gentleman. His name is Rick. He makes these prints, and he prepares them, you know, to be shipped to you, and they're awesome. The end product is absolutely awesome. And final thing I'll say is that right now, for the next, I think, week and a half, if you buy a panel any size at 25% off, and you'll find a post on my site, if you buy it at 25% off, I'm going to go to the Learn page here. Right here. If you do it for 25% off, then you get automatically entered to win a free 20 by 30 photo panel, and that panel can be your image or my image.
Excellent.
So
great. So while you're here, you might as well also tell people where they can find you online. So right here, it's looks like it's msjphotography.com.
Yep, msjphotography.com is my site. It's only $4.95 a month to get access to literally over 600 Photoshop and Lightroom tutorials.
Nice.
My Facebook page, my personal Facebook page is listed there as well, Mark S. Johnson Photography. And I have a link to the Picture This Pro. That's the resource I just showed you a moment ago. But remember, you can also get to that by going to my site and just click here on Create Prints, and it will take you right over.
Great. I will thank you so much. It's been wonderful. Love your images. Like I said, I really would love to see them on covers of anything from books to see them in movie posters, Netflix. So yeah, got to get you connected to those big names.
Yeah, well, let me know, man. I'd surely love to do that. But like I said, I have no time with all the teaching I do and a daughter and the creation I do. I have no time to pursue those clients. So
yeah, I know.
Not yet.
Maybe I'll have to post this video on like Netflix Facebook page or something.
Yeah.
Send them a link.
Well, you are the marketing genius, so I bow to your wisdom.
Stay busy with that. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. The Facebook Photoshop and Lightroom group passed 100,000 recently. So
that's awesome.
It's been intense though. I mean, it's been 4.5 years, and but it's a lot of great admins, and members share some very creative work, and we've had good contests. So it's a fun group. Keep it fun. So.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great group. It's anybody out there who's listening who's not a part of the group, sign up, join.
All right, well, thanks again so much. It was really wonderful, and I'll be posting this on all the different social networks.
All right, man. Thank you so much, Andrew. I really appreciate it. Good to see you.
Have a great week.
Bye, everybody.